What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review. This time we're taking a look at G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra, directed by Stephen Sommers. The story of this movie is simple. After a high-tech secret weapon is stolen by a mysterious and evil Cobra organization, the G.I. Joes must race against time to stop Cobra from using the weapon and plunging the world into chaos. That is the overall story of G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra. Let's talk about it. Overall, I think this movie is overall solid. This is a solid and fun, goofy, entertaining action movie directed by who I feel is an extraordinarily underrated action director in Stephen Sommers. I do not think Stephen Sommers gets enough credit for being a very solid action director. When the man is passionate about projects, he can direct. He can direct with the sort of panache that most action directors don't direct with. Like, you can tell that Sommers is a fan of certain things when he's behind the chair. And with G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra, you can see that. Just like you saw it with The Mummy and The Mummy Returns and with Van Helsing to an extent. To me, The Rise of Cobra is one of those examples of Stephen Sommers of doing a project that he's passionate about. And he really did try with this movie to be as faithful to the G.I. Joe source material as he possibly could. Now, someone like me, I am not a fan of the G.I. Joe franchise. I've never been a fan of G.I. Joe. It just never appealed to me growing up as a child. To be honest with you, the G.I. Joe movie, this movie was my first exposure to G.I. Joe. Now, of course, I've always known about G.I. Joe, knew who G.I. Joe was, but but the franchise never appealed to me to want to actually dive deep into the mythology and into the franchise in general. So I just viewed this movie as just what it is, an action shoot 'em up. And as an action shoot 'em up, it works. The story is completely goofy and over the top, and you have to suspend your disbelief since this movie deals with nanotechnology and it has these termites that can eat away at almost anything. Just watch the entire sequence in Paris. The damn thing, these nanomites destroy the Eiffel Tower within a matter of seconds. And it should be noted that the action set piece in the French segment of the movie is actually very well done, well directed, over the top action sequences with the Joes wearing these high tech mech suits, which is actually pretty cool and has a very Iron Man like feel to it. So yeah, there's that. This movie also boasts a very decent cast. Now you have Channing Tatum, Marlon Wayans, Dennis Quaid, Sierra Miller, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Actors like I don't know what her name, Rachel Nichols, Jonathan Price, who plays the President of the United States, and you also have Arnold Vosloo, who plays a master of disguise named Zartan, and it's revealed at the end of the movie that Zartan has disguised himself as the President of the United States, and now Cobra has now got an inside man in the White House, which is actually a cool little cliffhanger for a sequel that would have become a Retaliation, and we will talk about Retaliation when we get to it. But right now we're talking about The Rise of Cobra. By itself, this movie is fine. This movie follows the characters of Duke and Ripcord, who are these two best friends, and I actually like the characters of Duke and Ripcord. I think Tatum and Marlon Wayans have really good chemistry with one another, and I buy them as being very close friends with a brotherly bond. Like, they really work well with one another. I like their comedic bantering. I like their comedic timing with one another. I always found Marlon Wayans to be really funny if his talents are utilized correctly. And Channing Tatum, can also come across as a decent star if his acting abilities are used to his strengths. And I think Stephen Sommers used the best of Channing Tatum by making him an action star, because you gave him a level of badassery, and I thought Tatum did pretty well as the character of Duke. I thought he was fine. I mean, he had a good supporting cast to help him out. You had Dennis Quaid, who played General Hawk. I like Dennis Quaid as an actor. I liked him in this movie, though I thought I could have used a little bit more of General Hawk, to be honest with you. I mean, the guy doesn't even get a fight scene. He barely gets a fight scene because Storm Shadow takes him out. I mean, I would like to have seen Hawk and Zartan have a little bit of a throwdown, but no, I don't get nothing. He just gets attacked, and then he's in a wheelchair, and then he comes back at the end to help out in a way. Okay. To me, kind of a waste of Dennis Quaid's talents and a waste of the General Hawk character. I would have liked to see more. But you do make up for it with characters like the Baroness and Scarlet. These two characters are okay. Scarlet has a little bit of a romance thing going on with Whipcord, and I thought it was actually well handled for the most part. I thought that Nichols and Wayans have decent on-screen chemistry with one another, and I like the fact that Ripcord is persistent to a woman who can care less about having any romantic entanglements. So I thought that led for some really good for really good human-like moments. The whole aspect of the Baroness being Duke's brainwashed girlfriend Anna is actually a very interesting concept, and it adds, and it gives the Baroness a little bit of a character. Like, I'm not familiar with her with her comic book counterpart, but for this movie, what they did, for me, it works. And I thought Sierra Miller did an overall decent job as a performer. Wasn't great by any stretch of the imagination, but she was okay. And I actually don't mind the flashback scenes where we see Anna and Duke prior to Anna's brother Rex being presumed killed, and Anna being transformed into a villain. Speaking of Anna's brother, Joseph Gordon-Levitt plays the character of Rex Lewis, who is also a friend of Duke. And after the character of Rex Lewis is presumed to be dead, Duke pretty much abandons Anna, pretty much not having the courage to face her for pretty much letting her brother die. I mean, it's revealed at the end of the movie that this mysterious Cobra doctor is actually Rex in disguise, and it's also revealed that he's actually the man pulling all the strings, as Rex reveals himself to be Cobra Commander as well, which is a nice setup for a sequel. Another nice setup for a sequel is the character of James McCullen, who would eventually turn into Destro. The first half of this movie pretty much has McCullen as the lead villain until the big revelation at the end of Rex being Cobra Commander. But by itself, I thought Ellickson did a very good performance as James McCullen. Nothing spectacular or grand, but you could tell the man's having a blast playing this over-the-top hammy villain. And I actually like the look of Destro when he actually has the silver mask get put on him at the end of the movie. And I also like how the opening prologue of the movie plays into the origin of the Destro mask, which I actually thought was pretty cool, and it gives it a nice little legacy thing about how the McCullens are like arms dealers, and how because they were arms dealers, they're disgraced and should be branded as such. And by doing so, their face will be forever covered in like a silver and like this iron mask in a way. I thought that was actually a pretty cool, nice little touch. It actually gives meaning to the whole thing, which I thought was nice. And again, the movie sets up Cobra Commander and Destro to possibly be the two lead villains in a potential sequel in Retaliation, which we'll get to eventually. But other than that, I think this movie does have some very entertainingly good fight sequences. I like the entire scenes. I like all the scenes that take place in the pit. I really enjoyed those scenes. I thought those scenes were cool. We get a cameo by Brendan Fraser, who I would have liked to see more in this movie. I find it to be ridiculous that Brendan Fraser's in this movie playing a character called Sergeant Rock, and he's only taking place in a brief montage. He doesn't get to do anything. I mean, could he at least have been in the final fight? Come on, man. However, the movie does make up for it for my two favorite characters in this entire movie, with my overall favorite subplot in this entire movie, and that involves the characters of Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, played by Ray Park and Lee Bung-hung, respectively. I like the storyline between these two. It's very, very reminiscent of Scorpion and Sub-Zero in a way. Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow are pretty much portrayed as having a sibling rivalry, and it's only intensified when their master is killed, and Snake Eyes, assuming that it was Storm Shadow who killed the master, takes a vow of silence. So I like that entire subplot, and I also adore the fight scene that takes place between these two. It's a very thrilling sword fight that is really well done, very well executed, and it's probably the best action sequence in this entire movie, done by two really good actors in Ray Park and Lee Bung-hung. Good actors in terms of taking on physicalities of roles, of course. So yeah, that's my biggest highlight of the movie is Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes. Everything else, it's fun. It's fine. It's good. Stephen Sommers, like I said, he's a very underrated action director, and for the most part, the action sequences are well done. Some of the CGI can be really, really janky and look really, really bad in a lot of areas. This is 2009. I mean, you could have cleaned up the CGI a little bit. This movie did have a over $100 million budget, so it's not like this movie was made for $125. There was actually some money put behind it. Maybe it was a rush production schedule. I don't know. But yeah. Overall, I think G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra is a solid action movie. It's not my favorite in terms of a Stephen Sommers movie, but you can put it on, turn your brain off, and just overall enjoy it. It's got fun characters. It's got some good quirky dialogue. It's got some good moments to it. It has a very well thought out and fleshed out subplot with Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes, I feel. And it gives some of these characters some personalities who didn't have personalities to begin with, like the Baroness and Cobra Commander. By giving them a connection to the lead, but to the lead. So yeah, overall, G.I. Joe: The Rise of Cobra for me gets a solid 7.5 out of 10. I enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I will check you back next time for more.